Broadcasting straight to you from a large spaceship currently hovering above the firmament, counting the number of people who still believe in the globe Earth model. That counter is falling. What will happen when it becomes the minority? Should be an interesting day. Make sure you're there. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Strange World, where the truth is often stranger than fiction. I'm your host, Mark Sargent, the creator of Flat Earth Clues, which propose that all of us are living inside a Truman Show enclosed structure, thousands of miles wide. Check it out at enclosedworld.com or just Google Flat Earth Clues. If you can't find it, you're trying to apply the curvature of the Earth. That's not working. Special thanks this week. We have a bunch of special thanks, and they're all significant, so bear with me as I rattle these off. First one was from a package I received today from brother Dave K. out of Ohio. He sent me some Christian items. He sent me a mug, a giant mug with the 10 Commandments on it, and an oil candle in a glass container. Thank you very much. Although, Brother Dave, if you are listening to this, remember that if you're shipping oil candles, to seal the oil, the lamp oil separately, because it leaked out and soaked the box. There wasn't actually any lamp oil left in that thing when it got to me. Also, for anyone who wants to send me something, I don't care what it is, if it's cookies or whatever, please don't send it to the Colorado address, which I mentioned in one of my other shows. If you want to send to me, you can email me, and I will give you my address up here on Whidbey Island, Washington, and you can send me whatever you want. So, but anyway, thank you very much, Brother Dave K. from Ohio. It's wonderful having the 10 Commandments on one side and 1 Thessalonians chapter 4 on the other. That's great. It's a big, huge glass mug, which I'm sure I will fill with some tasty beverage. Secondly, thank you to flatlikeme.com, who are pushing their flatwares. You knew this was going to happen eventually, that people are going to find cool flat earth merchandise. And so flatlikeme.com sent me a t-shirt and also sent Patricia a t-shirt as well. Mine fit beautifully. I wore it on Patricia's show the other day. She has not gotten hers yet. I don't know if she'll wear it. But if you're going to send her something, make sure it's super small, because she is really tiny. She's like a $1.05 tops, whereas like a size 0. She's a very thin person. Also, thank you to Nicole Cote. It's spelled C-O-T-E. She's a fairly new flat earther. And what she has done is she is offering up her graphic services. And so I took her up on it and said, hey, how about making me a banner for the new Flat Earth Radio Network that we're going to be doing? And she said, yeah, I'd be happy to do it. So the next time you see me on Patricia's show, I'm going to be sporting this banner, as assuming I can get it hooked up. It's pretty cool. It's the banner, no surprise here, is going to be the same as my YouTube page, which is the It's Flat license plate, which is on the back of my car. Also, thank you to Brian Klein from Humanistory for the creating, because people have asked me, hey, cool channel trailer you've got on your YouTube thing, because this is the first channel trailer I didn't do. And Brian Klein created this really cool musical montage, graphic, wonderful. It was a piece of wonderfulness, is what it was. And he's going to be making some channel trailers from other people, but I am honored to say that the first one he made was for me, and it's really great. So check it out when you get a chance. It's not only is it just default channel trailer for anyone that's not subscribed to me, but it's also in the video section. And last but not least, thank you to Keenan Stinson. That's KEENENSTINSON for creating a video. The jig is up, the earth is flat. Very well spoken guy, and considering it was like a one-off monologue where he's just walking, holding the camera on himself, getting in his car, driving, and going on about the flat earth very eloquently. Wonderful stuff. Thank you, Keenan. We are lucky to have you in this, and keep making more of those. That's great stuff. Last week, by the way, also thank you for last week's show, the U.S. Army Master Gunner that came on as part of the Subject Matter Expert series, which is now also not only on this channel, Truth Frequency Radio, but it is also on my YouTube channel under a playlist called Testimonies or Testimonial Shows, which go over all the professionals in both the military and the civilian sectors that have come out and said, yeah, there's something wrong with the Earth. It is either really more flat than it is round. It's definitely not spinning, and the map appears to be really off. So let me rattle them off real quick. So far, we've got 13 of them that have come forward: to the United States Navy missile instructor, United States Air Force navigator, United States Marine Corps sniper instructor, United States Navy submarine chief, United States Army artillery radar operator, an Australian intelligence officer, American flight instructor, industrial engineer specializing in valves and seals, career surveyor of over 32 years, international shipping expert, corporate travel agent, air traffic controller, and a United States Army master gunner. Debunkers, put that in your pipe and smoke it. I haven't seen anyone come out against these guys. And what do you got? What do you got? Bring me somebody. Bring me somebody from the military. Bring me somebody from NASA. Bring me somebody from the aerospace industry to come out against this. And for anyone that's on the fence about coming and talking about it, you can be anonymous. I can read a statement. Or if you're feeling bold, we can put you on air. If you don't want to use your real name, that's totally fine with me. So thank you for everyone who has come out so far in the last 6 months, and I'm looking forward. It's, we just started March, and it's been a banner year so far. And just so you know, if you haven't figured it out already, we broke 5 million hits on YouTube. So when you type in Flat Earth into YouTube, no filters, it comes into over 5 million relevant hits, and which is almost doubled. It is twice as much. It was 4 months ago, maybe 5 months ago. It's incredible, the amount of this thing's climbing. And if you even put it in quotations, which somebody brought up on Patricia's show the other day, it still comes up at over 700,000, which is, if you say exactly those words, flat earth, in a row, it comes up over 700,000. That's insane for a topic that should not even be viable, as the debunkers say, but it is. And it's here to stay. So where is it going? It's resonating more and more. We'll find out. So anyway, thanks to all the subject matter experts so far. But as you know, if we do a subject matter expert, generally the next week we do mailbag, because we get so many emails and so many questions from people and so much great information that tonight, yes, it's the big mailbag episode, and we're going to be reading them rapid fire, because I've just thrown them all into a Word document, so I don't have to keep opening and closing things. But before we do that, real quick, because I'm really kind of been on the REM connection. Some people have suggested there's a great article out there on how the 90s band REM may have been in on the whole flat earth thing. Maybe they got it but didn't want to tell it to anybody, so they worked it into their music. At the very least, they believed in conspiracies. So I'd like to read you real quick the lyrics from Man on the Moon by REM. And if anyone knows the song, I am not going to be saying all the yeah. So I'm not going to say that part. So we're just going to do the straight up lyrics, not the yeah-yeahs. So here we go. Mott the Hoople and the Game of Life. Andy Kaufman in a wrestling match. Monopoly, 21, checkers and chess. Mr. Fred Blassie in a breakfast mess. Let's play Twister. Let's play Risk. See you heaven if you make the list. Now, Andy, did you hear about this one? Tell me, are you locked in the punch? Andy, are you goofing on Elvis? Hey, baby, are we losing touch? If you believed they put a man on the moon, man on the moon. If you believe there's nothing up his sleeve, then nothing is cool. Moses went walking with a staff of wood. Newton got beamed by the apple good. Egypt was troubled by the horrible asp. Mr. Charles Darwin had the gall to ask. Now, Andy, did you hear about this one? Tell me, are you locked in the punch? Hey, Andy, are you goofing on Elvis? Hey, baby, are you having fun? If you believed they put a man on the moon, man on the moon, if you believe there's nothing up his sleeve, then nothing is cool. Here's a little agate for the never believer. Here's a little ghost for the offering. Here's a truck stop instead of St. Peter's. Mr. Andy Kaufman's gone wrestling. Now, Andy, did you hear about this one? Tell me, are you locked in the punch? Hey, Andy, are you goofing on Elvis? Hey, baby, are we losing touch? If you believed they put a man on the moon, man on the moon. If you believe there's nothing up his sleeve, then nothing is cool. There you have it. Man on the Moon by R.E.M. Great song. I suggest watching the video. Some wonderful symbolism in that. I have little doubt. Somebody contact Michael Stipes and ask him, was he in on this? Because not in like in a bad way. I mean, like did he know back in the 90s, way before a lot of people, and just not tell anybody. So with that, let's get to mailbag, shall we? And let me scroll down and figure out who this one's. Okay, so Chris writes, this one's a little long one, but not to throw any fuel into the fire or anything, but the Eratosthenes experiment, or as I like to say, the 1 million stick test, was debunked as a proof of a globe, Earth, a while ago. I'm not surprised you're not aware of it. I'm the one who solved it and have shared it internally with prominent flat earthers. You can't use globe Earth physics to disprove a flat Earth. Rather than bore you with a 2-page answer as to why this proves nothing, I will simply say that in a flat Earth model, the sun is close. The sun's rays are not parallel. They're sent at different angles relative to the radial distance from the light source. The shadow results are the same in either model. Mind you, this doesn't say anything as to whether we live on a globe or a flat Earth. It simply means that shadow tests are not proof of anything. Oh, and your distances per hour thing are due to the orbit of the sun relative to your position, and easily explained in the flat Earth model. You could see very different results in a different location relative to the orbit. If you'd like the full explanation, you can email me. Oh, and for those that are confused about who is pushing what agenda, trust is not something to be thrown around easily. It's hard to say that I trust any flat earthers. I trust many globe earthers, but I also trust that none of us were properly educated on what was theory and what was fact and why. And thus, we have no context through which to develop our understanding of science. What I believe happened is that many non-flat earthers started finding problems with the system. The years and layers of lies and science that have been buried for going on 100 years now were looked at critically for the first time in a long time. The current establishment has never had to truly defend itself, as its last real defense dates to Einstein. While the establishment is not currently panicking, you can tell that they had plans for how to address the situation if it ever got out of hand, which is why LIGO was built in 1992 in the first place. I've spent a year arguing with esteemed professors on the topic, open-minded professors that would love nothing more than for flat Earth to be a provable reality so they can be revered in their time. I got to be honest, it's been really hard to prove anything with that group. When I started, I was destroyed by 500 years of mainstream science. Slowly but surely, the internet hive mind began to unravel the mysteries of where we live and how each piece fits into the flat Earth model. Today, I have one question that I have a few theories on without an answer. The rest have been shown to work in either model at worst. And for those of you who think that all flat earthers believe this is some massive conspiracy, it's not. Massive doesn't describe it. It's not a size thing. It's a time frame thing. Today, it is not very big. Very few know of the truth. The real problem came when building an alternative model to the globe Earth became a task that could take longer than a lifetime to produce. If you're a professor, you have to ask yourself, if I could build on the existing model to gain credibility or tear the whole thing down with the hopes of being able to complete your work enough to get it published in your lifetime. At best, that would be a side project. You'd never throw it away, but it would be foolish to devote too many resources to it. This is where traditional science failed. Most scientists, if they're being candid with you, will see the motive in the deception. Non-conspiracy theorists in nature, they see a space race between the Soviet Union and the United States, a governmental budget that demanded results, and a lack of scientific progress exploding in a massive NASA fakery effort. Conspiracy theorists will tell you there was never a space race. There were layers of control over science, over knowledge, over power. No, NASA's lies prove nothing about where we live, but the fact that NASA was founded when it was after Admiral Byrd's expeditions should tell you that there was an intent to gain control over the narrative of geographical exploration, which included space. We know that the Roman Catholic Church was heavily vested interest in heavenly phenomena. Why? This movement is not about disinformation at any level that would undersell its purpose on an exponential scale. That doesn't mean that there aren't D-bags in the Flat Earth movement. The Flat Earth movement is made up of people, and a sect of every populace of people is going to have some percentage of crappy people pushing their own agendas, whether bought and paid for or not. I love how people think this is disinfo. If I was hiding a secret for thousands of years, I needed to know how solid my foundation was. If I had to build on that secret, I would release the truth and test the populace. If it didn't have legs, I would know it was safe to build upon that secret. If it did have legs, I would take my sweet ass time fixing the issues I found during my test so that the next release would go far smoother. Then once there was no longer any dissension, I would strike. And I'm also assuming that I had lifetimes to make sure I had excellent countermeasures in place regardless of what happened after the release. What is interesting, however, is that this release was step one of their countermeasures. It had to be released due to the average person being able to find the inaccuracies in the model with expensive technology and the internet hive mind sharing information too quickly. So to control the flow of information, this PSYOP was released. What I see to date is that this has legs, I had mentioned earlier, probably bigger than they anticipated and certainly on far more condensed timeline than they imagined. The internet, 3D rendering, and optical technology have helped to make their tests far easier for the masses than do on their own and discuss the results with the world instantly. Where they might have had years of adjustment in the past, they have days today, and it impacts everyone, not just those at universities currently in study. To counter these legs, they have sent out Neil deGrasse Tyson to drop microphones and discover the gravity wave for the first time. The gravity wave they were holding on to for over 20 years. They know the next 10 moves or so, but will it be enough? If you're not eating popcorn and watching this thing unfold, you're missing out. Technology is pushing us to a philosophical crossroads. The Catholic in me is hoping for one answer, the scientist in me another, and the human in me another. Oh, and one last thing. Before you dismiss anything, remind yourself about what happens to humanity when left unchecked. Unlimited power, resources, and time only has one potential outcome and one potential threat. When you discover the outcome and the threat, you'll understand where we are today. I wish everyone in the damn internet the best. This is hard enough without everyone fighting through the entire process. Chris. Thank you, Chris. That was a very well put together letter and one of the longer ones I have read. Normally I don't read stuff that long, but in this case it was fantastic. Also, a little side note from Chris. He sent some links. I've got to rattle them off real quick, which is, I guess, who is the primary contractor for everything USA in Antarctica? Lockheed Martin. And who was it before that? Raytheon. Both massive defense contractors. If anyone want to look it up, you can go to lockheedmartin.com, U.S. products, Antarctic support contract. It's right there. Number two, evidently, there was an Antarctic project called Skylab, which happened to begin the exact same time as the space station of the same name, and that's at usap.gov, same name / news content handler. That's right there. This guy does a lot of research. And then from, let's see, from gsfc.nasa.gov, last year, 2002, microwave balloon experiments, Maxima and Boomerang, determined that the universe is geometrically flat, that is, obeys Euclidean geometry. And last but not least, in 2001, Raytheon launched a telescope atop a high-altitude balloon. It was called MASAM, M-S-A-M, /Top Hat. You really need to wonder why they spent 6 years trying to figure out how to launch a telescope stuck to a balloon in the harshest environment known to existence when we have satellites. So, thank you for all that stuff. Very much appreciated, Chris. We still got a few more minutes before the break, so let's get on with it. This one is from... Hang on one second. Well, let's read his name at the end. Let's just start with it. Dear Mark, I listened to you on Darkness Radio a couple of times. I found your view very interesting about the Flat Earth theory. I started to do some of my own looking as well as reading and listening to your YouTube information. I am very interested in how these theories and how they apply to other religions. Have you looked into mythological history? So I was looking into the Norse mythology of the Yggdrasil, and if I pronounce this badly, do not give me a hard time. When you take the flat Earth theory reality and then view the 9 realms of Yggdrasil, oof, it's rough. How am I viewing the realms as being individual flat Earth domes? Midgard, our dome planet, comprised of humans. Alfheim, the light elves, also known as the fairy lands. Vanaheim, the gods. Asgard, realm of the Valkyries and gods. Skartelfheim, the dark elves. Nidalfler, wow, these are so tough. I should have never picked this one. Dwarves. Jotunheim, land of the giants. Niflheim, land of ice. Hell, land of the dead. Big surprise there. And if you look at the view of this belief system, it would fit very easily into the concept of the flat Earth under the dome theory as other domes for each realm. Also, I assume you know about the etymology of the word planet, which is also very interesting. I was going to say origin, but that's fine. I think that when you see physical evidence conflict with a mathematical evidence and the science comes up with another explanation to why the math isn't working, to me, shows that they know the math and physics is wrong, so they try to hide it. And people believe it, even when they know they shouldn't. You've made me a spherical Earth skeptic and leaning more and more to a flat Earth believer. Thank you, Matt. You're very welcome, Matt. And thank you for the history lesson on all things Norse. This one's from Neil. Hey, Mark, although not proof of anything, take a look at the Ustream live ISS feed. Underneath the claimed live video footage is a graphic showing the ISS position on its claimed orbit around the globe. Change the time on your computer by, say, 2 hours forward, and take another look at the graphic. You might have to refresh the page. The ISS has changed position to where it will be in 2 hours' time. So the graphic, which gives you the impression that it is a live radar image, is in fact a pre-recorded computer program that tells you where the ISS should be at a particular time and date, not actually real-time information. Regards, Neil. And yeah, Neil, you're absolutely right. You're not the first person to report that. It's a couple of people that made videos on it, and one of them was just laughing hysterically because he was saying that, you know, if it was a live feed, then he has power over the ISS station. He can command it to show up at any different point. So yeah, you can go, change your computer time backward and forward, and you can dictate. That's a cheat. That's an exploit. I love it. Fantastic. Thanks very much, Neil. So yeah, you guys want to check it out yourself, go to Ustream live ISS feed, mess with the date time in your computer, and you can make the ISS jump around like a Mexican jumping bean. Next one's from Anonymous. Your clues bring back old questions I had as a child. I've always considered myself to be a natural explorer. At the age of 6 to 9, most kids are too busy with fun, and all I did was question the world around me. If we are spinning, why can't we feel it or the wind? Why is the sky blue? How can the moon block the sun? And why is there a curve in the sky? These are all questions that I distinctly remember, and now I see how I was conditioned to the answers of NASA. I just want to say thank you for sparking my memory. Even today, I always look at the sky every day and night, and honestly, it's not that hard to see the curve in the sky, but the Earth is effing flat as a poster board. Signed, Anonymous. Thank you. Thank you very much, Anonymous. Brent writes, do we still have time? Yeah, we got a couple more. Brent writes, I did a video on Polaris because of another video that I did on stars. I don't have a voice on YouTube, but you do. I think this was original thought, but it might be out there, and maybe you already know this. Polaris, when viewed from the North Pole, is straight up at 90 degrees. Polaris, viewed from the equator, is at 0 degrees level with the horizon. When viewed from the 45-degree place, it is at 45. From the 45 degrees of the North Pole is 3,117 miles, depending on who you ask. This is enough information to calculate the distance of Polaris in the dome, which works out to about 3,100 miles, give or take. Keeping in mind that they say Polaris is 434 light years away, or 5.8 trillion miles per light year. If that were the case, Earth would be a speck of dust and Polaris a nail head in appearance. A speck of dust would not allow for 1 degree of angle change, let alone 90 degrees. This is a standalone argument on star distances as well as a starting place for perspective, for the distance of the sun and why it can't be seen at certain distances. I will give you a link to my video, not looking for credit, but for someone with a voice to use the information and make a way better video and get the word out. Thank you, Brett. Yeah, and by the way, if you guys are going to send me a link, and you sent me the link, also send me the title of it, because I can't read off the YouTube gobbly stuff, because it's not going to do anybody good. Do I have time for one more before the first break? Yeah, let's do one more real quick. My name is Diego. Diego Lorenzo Gurgel on Facebook. By the first time in my life, I started to research. After a joke I saw on the internet, the possibilities of Flat Earth 3 days till now. Oh my God, I'm just blown away. I try to explain to others, but I always look ridiculous because my generation grown up buying globalist theories. Dang. Please feel free to send me whatever you want. Paper, material, digital stuff, proof, anything to study about. Books I can read, anything, please. In fact, ordinary people will never reach the edge or the dome. You know what? I have been muted, and I am so sorry. Somebody just reminded me that I was muted. I got to start over real quick. Thank you, by the way, for letting me know that I was muted. It's a rookie mistake, and you hate to see it. Sorry about that. Quick thank you to Boogles that created from the UK. They created my audiobook, and they did my audio version, and that has just come out on iTunes and other places where you can find audiobooks. Also, Flat Earth Clues book. All you have to do is go into Amazon, type in Flat Earth Clues, and you will find it. So anyway, sorry I had you guys muted for a while. Completely my fault. Anyway, let's get back to the email, shall we? This one is from Alan. Alan writes, "Hello, Mark. First off, I applaud your efforts and enjoy your vids. Just a quick comment and question for you regarding planes. I've seen people ask if the Earth is flat, why don't planes have to constantly adjust left or right to fly around the Earth? Simple. Planes fly in a straight line between destinations. I've not heard anyone answer that question with that answer. But my question is, and I'm a 100% flat Earth believer, if the Earth is 25,000 miles in circumference and a plane traveled 6,000 miles nonstop in one direction, wouldn't the AH gyro they use for level flight be registering completely 90 degrees off horizontal from when they departed, since that's roughly 1/4 of the globe? I'm by no means a pilot, but this has been in my head since your interview with the pilot. I don't recall you addressing that in the interview. And if so, why do I not hear anyone bringing this up? A gyro is basically what convinced me of flat Earth, and I'm just wondering if I'm missing something on how they work. Thanks for your time, and I look forward to more of your vids. And I'm concerned about what's going to happen when they can no longer backtrack out of their lies and the whole world wants answers. Might get ugly. LOL. Again, thanks. By Alan. And hang on, I'm going to write real quick. Am I back on? Am I back on? Just going to make sure that I'm still on. Brian from Humanistory, can you hear me? If you can, type something so that I know I'm still on the air. Hopefully. Anybody? Well, we're just going to keep talking. Who knows? Oh, yeah, good. I am still on. Fantastic. Let's move on to... I had to check. Every once in a while, you don't know. If I made a mistake on this side, you don't know if the system completely crashed on me. So here we go. Hello. I stumbled across an interview you did on Darkness Radio on YouTube and was fascinated by the discussion of potential mineral and hydrocarbon wealth on Antarctica. It inspired me to go dig into the subject matter. Oh, I see what you did there. Dig. That's funny. If only to try to prove you wrong. However, it actually appears you're correct. In my reading, I've found that Antarctica does appear to have wealth of natural resources based on the limited surveying and also theorizing they've done. For example, in a research paper published by the University of Canterbury, New Zealand Department of Antarctic Studies, an area on the western portion of the continent known as the Dufek intrusion is hypothesized as having significant mineral wealth in both iron and copper. In fact, the paper cities, the paper cites, I just don't use the word cites that much, research done back in the 80s and 90s on whether it would be economically efficient to extract minerals from that area. Where there would be some issues in regards to climate, it doesn't sound insurmountable, citing the case of the Polaris zinc mine in the Northwest Territories of Canada. The ore would be very costly to extract. Perhaps the most interesting quote is, the Dufek intrusion would definitely have been intensely explored if it were located nearly anywhere on Earth apart from the Antarctic. Interesting. The easier wealth though, lies with the potential oil fields around and on the Antarctic shelf, although with current economic trends, it's unlikely to be exploited anytime soon. I still, as of yet, don't believe in a flat Earth, but thought you might appreciate some more info on the potential wealth of Antarctica. The two papers linked are an interesting and in-depth look at the resource distribution, costs of extraction, etc. If you've come across these before, I apologize for wasting your time. Thank you for reading. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. And there's the link, and that's the paper in question. Let me look this up real fast. Is Darcy Broughton, The Potential for Mineral Exploration and Extraction in Antarctica, the University of Canterbury, Christchurch, New Zealand, 2012. Another similar paper from 2003. Well, that's a long title. Resources in Antarctica with the world's dwindling natural resources. Is there a chance for exploration in Antarctica? The University of Canterbury, 2004. Again, they don't talk about it. So that's very, very interesting. FLM writes, hello, Mark. I would like to tell you about my website, flatlikeme.com. Hey, go figure. I just mentioned those guys in the beginning of the show. I got a T-shirt I wore on Patricia's show yesterday. Real quick, before that, I would like to ask for complete anonymity as well. I am an elected official in a small-town government and don't wish to be raked through the coals publicly for Flat Earth. I hope you understand I'm saying that I would also like to get the word out, so to speak, and my way of doing that is to put the most articulate, knowledgeable proponents of the Flat Earth model under one roof, or dome, whichever you prefer, for easier access. I've heard you mention you being okay with your videos being shared, and I've taken you up on it along with Rob Skiba, Patricia Jaron, and a few others. I've only posted what is readily available on YouTube and websites run by the persons listed. My goal is to keep the Flat Pack's most current videos up along with each one's case for Flat Earth. Example, your Flat Earth Clues video series. So far, you're in the forefront, and by the looks of things, you will be there for a while. Mine is a hate-free site, so I am not listing the anti-Semitic hateful bunch in this group. Could I humbly get your endorsement, or at the very least a plug, or just simple critique of the site? Thank you. Flat like me. That's what FLM stands for. That's good. Yeah, you get my endorsement. Absolutely. I got the T-shirts, and I looked at the site, and it looks great. Fantastic. You're going to have competition, though, pretty soon because the Flat Earth Network is going to be built, no question. And we'll see how it goes. But no, it's great. Great start. I'm glad you're jumping on it. From what I can tell, Flat Earth is a growth industry. So good for you. Thanks very much. And you have my endorsement. Next up, from Canada, we have... Who do we have? Daniel from Canada. Hello from Montreal. I just wanted to thank you for all the work you're putting out there on the Flat Earth subject. I really enjoy listening to your videos and radio shows. You and your guests are very pleasant to listen to. A lot of interesting talk. Keep up the good work, Daniel. So thank you from Montreal, Canada. I'm not going to hold it against you because you're in the French-Canadian sector of Canada. I'm over right next to the English, the British-Canadian side, just south of Vancouver, where Orphan Red is, by the way. Owen writes, Mark, great debate. Well done. As the #1 spokesperson for Flat Earth, well done. Keep up the excellent work. Rooting for you. Cheers, Owen. And the debate that he is mentioning, was from the Dark 30 radio interview where David Weiss and I were supposed to go up against Richard Hoagland and friend. Richard, of course, backed out because his theory does not jive well with Flat Earth at all. So he backed out. Didn't even call, and it was very rude. So they put in a substitute, and that substitute, Brian Dunning, even though he was an articulate guy and very smart, he also just got out of prison for fraud. So that's great. That's wonderful. And when I asked the radio station, I said, "Did you guys vet him?" Oh yeah, we knew, but we had to get somebody at last minute, and they didn't want to cancel the show. It's like, yeah, I suppose, but it's it was a fairly high profile case. I mean, he stole a bunch of money from eBay, and it took eBay 6 years to bring him down, and it was a lot of litigation. And he spent 15 months in prison, and he's going to be on probation for the next 3 years. So. Anything that he said, I'm sorry, you don't have a lot of credibility if you're trying to be a debunker. If you did time for fraud, if you're trying to debunk people that are doing fraud, that you think are doing fraud, it doesn't work out. Sorry. Anyway, moving on. Zachary writes, that's a fairly long email. Zachary says, Zachary Z here, or as my handle on YouTube goes, GUDTIMS for all. Good time. Oh, I get it. Good times for all. But you couldn't get good times because that was taken, so you spelled it GUDTIMS and the number 4 and then ALL. It's good. Just finished the debate and wanted to say well done in handling the whole show. You became aggressive when needed, and I was happy to see that side of you still able to keep fairly calm. Not many people seem to push your buttons, but one can only take so much of a pompous ass. Excuse my language, but a duck is a duck. It's understandable. I cannot believe any real scientist would enter a debate without doing a single experiment on the subject. Just goes to show how far science has slipped from reality. You and the second guest were great, and I have a feeling he is going to look into the subject further. That would be Brian Dunning. Now, with that said, I will get right to the point and try not to make this 5 pages long. I know you must be getting swamped these days. I have been thinking of how the force which holds us to the Earth is created. While watching a video on gyroscopes, an idea came to mind. In the video, a gyroscope with a string tied to the end of it was spun clockwise. Then the string was spun around the gyroscope in a counterclockwise rotation. Once spun fast enough, it actually inverts the gyroscope, causing it to become lighter and actually lift in the air. What if there is a wheel spinning freely underneath the Earth while the dome itself is spinning in the opposite direction, causing the same force which happens on the gyroscope, causing it to want to levitate? We are like the center of a record player where you had to pop up the part to play 45s. I think that's what they're called, kind of before my time. Well, not before my time. I actually remember 45s. I had a record player. I mean, I'm old, but I'm not that old. That didn't spin with the rest. Put a salad bowl over that and spin it in the opposite direction, and there you go. Spun fast enough, it would invert and the want to rise and create a downward force. Still quite a few problems with the idea on how the Earth would move, but I think the force felt would be created. I figure throw it out there and see what the hive mind comes up with. Again, congratulations on the debate and making the scientists look quite foolish and possibly opening the mind of another free thinker. Take care and keep up the great job spreading the good word. Zachary. P.S. This makes it to radio. I don't care if you use my name. Thank you, Zachary. And yes, I am going to use your name because you put it at the beginning and the end and in your subject line. Makes me think that you wanted me to say the name. So, yeah, thanks very much, Zachary. And he's got a good point there about the gyroscope. And as far as the debate goes, again, from the Dark 30 interview, which I put debate in the title, it's pretty easy to spot. The first guy that we went up against, and his name was Mark D'Antonio, I think. He was not ready for this. He should have gone. He was at a convention, a UFO convention, if I'm not mistaken, and he should have gone up to his hotel room where he had a quiet thing. Instead, he tried to do it on his laptop or his phone, I think, and just do it with a whole bunch of people around him. And I'm sorry, but when the laughing started from his friends behind him, I was just starting to lose my cool. And so I was going to give him no quarter at all. So I just kept piling it on, and eventually he quit. He waited until the commercial break, thank God. But it made it kind of awkward for the rest of the night. And I apologize if I lost my cool a little bit, but at the same time, don't laugh at the messenger. You want to laugh at the message, that's fine. But it just gets under me, that especially if he calls himself a scientist. For me, most scientists are lost anyway. If you have a master's or PhD in one of the physical sciences, there's really not much I can do for you. I'm not saying you should go throw yourself into traffic, but you're going to have a really, really tough time with this when it finally comes out. Next up, let's see here. Who sends this one? This is anonymous. Nope, David. David writes, real quick. He writes some quotes and it was things to look at, references in mainstream media that you want to look at stuff for Flat Earth. One is the Flat Earth map in the movie Truman Show at 5 minutes and 47 seconds on the wall behind Truman at his desk at his job. Nice one. Jonathan Hatcher said, don't examine the dream to find the dreamer. Find the dreamer and ask how and why, and then wake up. And then, of course, the line from Agent Smith, We are not here because we're free. We're here because we are not free. There's no escaping reason, no denying purpose. For without purpose, we would not exist. It is purpose that created us, purpose that connects us, purpose that pulls us, that guides us, that drives us. It is purpose that defines us. It is purpose that binds us. That's a good one. Agent Smith from The Matrix 2, I believe. And I think it was an underrated movie. It's a great, probably one of the greatest movie trailers of all time, in my opinion, was The Matrix 2 trailer. I mean, yeah, a lot of people went after The Matrix 2 movie and said, oh, wasn't that good? It's like, look, you're not going to top the first Matrix. Although, in all fairness, The Matrix not only was a great movie, but it was a great movie in a year of great movies. If you guys want to argue with me, you can, but I'd love to get an email or two on this, and that is, I consider 1999 to be the greatest year of movies ever. I think we peaked out in 1999. Maybe it was because all the studios didn't know if we'd actually make it to Y2K, but look at the movies. Not just the Academy Award nominees. Look at all the movies that were released in 1999. It's incredible. And I remember that year going out to the theater because I saw a lot of movies by myself because I wasn't going to wait for friends, and that was I was in the movies twice a week in some cases, just because there's so much great stuff coming out. Anyway, the other quote is the path of the you know this one for movie fans out there. The path of the righteous man is beset on all sides by the inequities of the selfish and the tyranny of evil men. Blessed is he who, in the name of charity and goodwill, shepherds the weak through the valley of the darkness, for he is truly his brother's keeper and the finder of lost children. And I will strike down upon thee with great vengeance and furious anger those who attempt to poison and destroy my brothers. And you will know my name is the Lord when I lay my vengeance upon thee. Ezekiel 25:17. These are great quotes. Let's see. Jack writes, I just read large sections of your book, Empty Shelves. That's my free, by the way, survival guide if you guys want a free copy of it. Yes, I am selling the Flat Earth Clues book, but I am actually giving away another book, which is even bigger, I think. It's a cool little survival guide called Empty Shelves. You can just email me at msargent23@comcast.net and put in the subject line, I want your survival guide, or something to that effect. It doesn't have to be exact. You don't have to put it in all caps. I'll probably see it. And I will send you off the PDF of the survival guide. You can have fun with that. Anyway, Jack writes, I just read large sections of your book, Empty Shelves. Great book, and thanks so much for providing it for free. Excellent and very accurate info based on my prepper studies. He takes a quote from my book and he says, note, I said, back into the house, you monkey. Why ruin your engine? My favorite quote. Hollywood teaches us to drive straight in, unfortunately. Take care, Mark, from Jack. And he's absolutely right. What I said is, look, if you're gonna breach a house, if the survival situation actually comes down to house fighting, and I'm not looking forward to that if that happens. That you want to breach a house, you with any vehicle, something with a big back end like a truck or a station wagon or something like that. It's preferably an old steel car. You want to drive it rear end first, because that way your engine still is okay. I mean, your transmission still might get screwed up, but at least your engine's going to still work. So that's what I recommend. There you go. That was from Jack. Thank you, Jack. Carl writes, congrats. The opposition never even laid a glove on you and finally had to run out of the room screaming insults. A loss by any measure. Way to go, Mark. Carl. And of course, he is talking about the Dark 30 radio debate with David Weiss and I versus not Richard Hoagland and Mark D'Antonio. Mark D'Antonio, I'm not saying that he should have gone up to his hotel room afterwards and just emptied out the minibar and then thrown himself off the balcony, but he should never enter a flat earth debate again, because it's not going to turn out well. On the flip side, though, if any scientist out there wants to debate me on this, I'm more than happy. I've challenged everybody from Neil deGrasse Tyson to Bill Nye the Science Guy to the head of NASA to the head of the Mars program. I'll take them one by one or all in the same room. It's not going to make any difference because I have righteousness on my side. I have conviction, and I know what the future holds. for this movement. And you know, say what you want, but this thing just keeps growing. You're not going to be able to stop it. Only one thing can stop it, and it's bigger than all of you. Anonymous writes, God is truth, and truth is on your side. You guys were great on that debate. Handled the childishness of those UFO nerds very well. David Weiss is an ace. All capitals, ace. Other than myself, he is the only thing I like about Connecticut. Even though I am from there. Anonymous, thank you. And David, you're the only redeeming thing. Oh, by the way, if you haven't heard already, from some of the debunkers, apparently David Weiss is currently controlling the entire Flat Earth movement. He is responsible for it. We got 4 minutes left until the break. We got a few more here, and we're just about on pace. Barry writes, hey, Mark, I'm Barry Nassif, Nassif. I first watched your clues back in December and then began searching more and found Rob Skiba's channel and started watching his videos. I was hooked and the world turned upside down within 2 weeks. I'm a Christian and now I firmly believe in the flat earth and believe it is biblically supported also. I have since created my own separate Facebook page with info I've gathered from yours and other sites and have begun talking about it to people. I've watched all your videos from the clues all the way up to the Stanton interview, so I still have the 2 most recent months to watch. The reason for my email is that I wanted to possibly shed some light on the sun and the moon. In the Book of Enoch, it plainly comes out and says the sun, moon, and stars are created beings, luminaries that God created and set in their paths. It goes into explicit detail about their paths and orbits going through gates. The sun even has 2 names, Tomas being one of them mentioned in Enoch 77, verse 1. If this is indeed true, it might explain a lot about how the celestial bodies work. What are your thoughts on this? Thanks for all your great videos, and a shout out to Jonathan, Patricia Steer, and others you have done shows with. Barry, Flat Earther. Thank you, Barry. It's very nice to hear. Vince writes, is the world flat or just larger than what we've been told? Are the powers that be hiding more land from us, and are aliens from just a parallel Earth? Who knows? But why not have fun trying to figure it out? This comic and game combo will rock you, hold dear, wow, write better, and entertain the heck out of you at the same time. Get yours today and open up your mind in new ways. And that's from Vince White. I had to read it. You're probably saying, don't you screen these things? It's like, yeah, Vince White is writing a Flat Earth comic book. He's got a Kickstarter campaign. I don't know that much about it. Robbie Davidson has done an interview with him. Check that out if you get a chance. That's on Celebrate Truth channel. If you like it, support him. If you don't like it, don't. But I am a comic book fan, you'd think by default. But no, I'm very picky about my comic books. I used to own a comic book store back in the early 90s. And I had a lot of fun with that. So I'm a super nerd. Got a minute or so of the break. Let's do 2 more real quick. Barbara writes, hey, Mark, thank you for all the hard work you've put into spreading the truth about our world. Barbara. Very welcome, Barbara. And Carly writes, hello, Mark. You've inspired me to place my flat earth models into a slideshow video, so I figured out how to do it. I emailed you before and just shared 1 or 2 because you had a question from a caller during an interview about how the jet streams worked. Well, this video has 27 of the models I have created so far. All right, I remember getting this. A few were requests from other flat earthers that needed them for projects, and the others were done because I get curious. I wanted to see a certain projection created, so I do it. The new perspective helps me, and so now I'm sharing them so this perspective of our Earth can help others as well. Please enjoy your new friend, Carly Sunshine Madrano. It's a great name. Thank you, Carly. And I don't think we have, we got time for 1 more. Paul writes, hey, Sergeant. That's great. My name is Paul, and I would likely say I'm naturally a geographer, and I've been following some of your videos and presentation on the flat Earth. Recently, I've been seeing on YouTube the documentary They Are Hiding God with greatest lies ever, and in relation to this documentary, I have a few questions. 1, do you conclude the dome and core are both created by man or by God? The answer is God. And 2, I think the Earth is flat, but what is beyond the edge of the Earth? What would make man or the Creator place a dome over the Earth? Looking forward to your reply. Paul. Back to Strange World. This is the second half, otherwise known as segment 3. And I'm your host, Mark Sargent, the creator of Flat Earth Clues. You can find Flat Earth Clues on a new Facebook page done by the publisher Boogles, Booglez, out of London. It is Flat Earth Clues book. The website, of course, is enclosedworld.com. The YouTube page is Mark K. Sargent. The book itself, Flat Earth Clues, can be bought at Amazon. The audiobook just came out as well, and the Android and the Apple app, which are free. You can get the Android app at playgoogle.com and the Apple app at itunes.apple.com. Just search Flat Earth Clues in any of these places and you will find all that fun stuff. So have at it. The TV show that's coming out, the movie. I don't know who's going to be playing Admiral Byrd, but I'm sure it's going to be fantastic. Actually, I've got a great idea for a movie plotline on that. If it ever does turn into a movie, who knows? If it gets released, it could happen. I'm not taking anything off the table. Excuse me. Anonymous writes. Back to the mailbag, shall we? Anonymous writes. Hey, Mark, I have heard several of your interviews and must say that I am impressed. Recently, I wrote an article on the deception of the flat earth from a biblical perspective. As you know, most people are simply not aware that they are deceived on the creation of God, and also not aware of the power of deception, biblical or scientific deception, and how deception affects their personal lives. Keep in mind that the Bible is the final authority on the creation, but the truths of God are very precious, which is why the Bible is divinely designed to be studied, to find these precious gems of truths, including the truth on the creation. It might be well worth your time to carefully read this article, Son of Righteousness, on either of these two web links. And I'm not going to read the links, but Son of Righteousness. Check it out when you get a chance. Next up, we have, and I'm going to figure out who wrote this, Eddie. That's a great one. Eddie writes, because it's always from a guy named Eddie, right? You heard it from somebody who fell off the back of a truck, and his name was Eddie. Hello, I am new and don't quite understand the social structure of YouTube. You are an amazing man. If you really are Mark Sarr, well, let me rephrase that. If Mark Sargent actually exists, the details of his past and present are accurate. I want to be your agent. I can't stop listening to you. You need to get on the lecture circuit. Forget YouTube. I've been poking around the social politics of Flat Earth, a microcosm of alternative knowledge media on steroids. Observations. Eric Dubay should buy some stool softeners. His whole demeanor screams constipation. Interview 11 with the biker girl showcases your talent of being able to make even the reading of the owner's manual for the blender sound interesting. I've got to figure out what interview 11 was. I don't remember off the top of my head. You never did comment when she pointed out, did you ever notice that all the planetariums have domed roofs? What's with that? Classic entertainment. Thank you, Eddie. Thank you for all the kind words. I love them. Don't pick on Eric too much. He has contributed a lot to the movement. Eric Dubay, if you don't remember who we're talking about here, his 200 Proofs video is good. He's done a lot of good videos. I just disagree with him on his social views, which pick on certain ethnic groups, like any ethnic group. Don't pick on any. Look, the Flat Earth is about hope. It's about the promise of future enlightenment and binding us together. If you really can make the journey of Flat Earth, if you can get to point A, from point A to point Z with the Flat Earth, are you still going to have these biases against other ethnic groups? We'll see. And if you do, then you might have to answer to the creator, which you probably also believe in at that point. But I'm just saying, be nice. That's the short version. Treat others better than you treat yourself. The reason why I put that at the end of every show that I do, I try to say it as often as I can. Treat others better than you treat yourself. 10 Commandments is one thing. By the way, I have a mug with all the 10 Commandments on here, which most people don't have memorized. But I try to boil it down to one, and that is treat others better than you treat yourself. All right? Just saying. I know I'm sounding a little preachy, but I'm in one of those moods. Florian writes, hello there, and thanks for all the interesting shows you put out. I write to you about light refraction and eyesight distance. My thought is the following. During days of high humidity or fog and pollution, our sight distance is quite limited, and everything looks gray and white like a scrambled TV screen. Now, the only time we can see far away is when the air is clear, when we have clear conditions, that is, less water and other atmospheric pollutants in the air, when there is therefore less light refraction. To me, that means that the less light refraction and distortion there is, the straighter light can travel and the farther we can see, just like the TV screen where the signal isn't scrambled by atmospheric parasites. The picture is clear and much more detailed. Light refraction proves we're on a plane surface. The less of it there is, the farther we can see. Seems obvious. Let me know what you think. Kind regards, Florian. I like it. But to me, people forget that when it comes to atmospheric stuff, because the atmosphere is screwing up a lot of our curvature tests when we're looking. Because remember, if the curvature is 8 inches per mile squared, which means 8 inches per mile times itself, so it's 8. If it's something's 5 miles away, it's 5 miles times itself, which is 5. 5 times 5 is 25. Times 8, that's in inches, and then you can break it down to feet. But when you're looking through atmosphere, you got to remember the atmosphere that we're hanging around in is really not that much different than water. I mean, water is more dense. It's hydrogen and oxygen, but atmosphere is also nitrogen and oxygen. So it's really, I mean, it's somewhat different. But when you're looking through it, you're going to get distortions. Like when you're underwater, you can only see so far. We've all seen movies and actually documentaries underwater. You can only see so far in the water because eventually the water itself distorts the image. The atmosphere is just a thinner version of that. So keep that in mind when you're doing atmospheric tests in regards to the curve. So there you go. Thank you, Florian, for reminding us of that. William writes, just listening to last night's Strange World, I heard the other songs like Stand, End of the World, and Man on the Moon being brought up multiple times. He's, of course, referring to the REM band. What about Losing My Religion? Check out those lyrics, too. They're all kind of telling, sort of, but the main line says it all. That's me in the spotlight, he says the sun, losing my religion, scientism. That's really great. So that's me in the spotlight, losing my religion. William thinks that that's talking about the sun and scientism. Ooh, nice. REM, some great lyrics there, some very, very interesting stuff. Look up the lyrics. Anyone's listening to this, look up the lyrics on REM for Stand, End of the World, and Man on the Moon. Great lyrics. In fact, End of the World, I think, is a very interesting one because everyone knows this chorus because we all heard it, especially during the 2000 thing. It's the end of the world as we know it, and I feel fine. How does that happen? Because if the world ends, then how are you feeling fine? Well, if the current world model ends, if it changes from the world as we know it, from a globe model to a flat Earth, then yes, the end of the world has happened. But do you feel fine? Yeah, probably. Not bad. He also says, keep it up, man. It's like that old kids game, Thin Ice, where you put the wet marbles in the paper towel. The towel is about to tear, and all the marbles are about to fall through. Take it easy, William. William, I grew up on a rural island, and we had all sorts of dumb games involving sticks and rocks. What game are you talking about, putting wet marbles in the paper towel? Is that actually a game? Did people actually play that somewhere? Did you get paper towels and put water on it? And then what was the whole point? It was like kind of like a reverse Jenga type of situation where you're just piling stuff on and then eventually the whole thing collapses? Interesting. So thank you very much, William. And my connection should still be there. Is everyone? I just got a message from somebody saying that everything went quiet. Still quiet? Connection? Sorry about the break, guys. Every once in a while, I have to check just to make sure everything's good. Can't hear me? Question mark? Nope. Oh, okay. All right. It's just him. She scared me. All right. I had another guy. Sorry, guys. I know what happens is I look at Skype every once in a while and I see if everything's going okay. And every once in a while someone will say, I can't hear you. It's like, oh, crap. All right. So thank God I had another person say, I'm hearing you just fine. Yes, I know. Yes. Thank you, Brian, for telling me you can hear me just fine. Please, guys, forgive me. It's a mail show, and I can't look at every screen at the same time. I've got a big 30-inch monitor here, and I got a lot of stuff going on. All right. Jonathan writes, just walk your doc, greatest lie ever. Mind-blowing, brilliant, well-written and narrated, and so enlightening. You're a brave man publicly saying what you and also myself believe to be true in this world. I know of the ridicule that can come with speaking of anything even slightly controversial. I admire you. Great film. Keep the good work up. Unfortunately, I cannot see a way of changing people are completely brainwashed with their own incorrect beliefs. Thanks for the film, Jonathan. And what he's talking about, every once in a while you'll hear me reference something because, yes, for most people you know the stuff as the Flat Earth Clues, but because the Flat Earth Clues were Creative Commons license, what happened was I put them out on YouTube and I said anybody can take the Flat Earth Clues, including anyone's listening now. You can take the Flat Earth Clues. If you can come up with a catchy name for it, you can put it on your channel. Do whatever you want. It doesn't matter to me. I do not monetize anything on my channel. Now, you may see stuff that you can't monetize because I'm using copyrighted material, like a song or a little movie clip or something like that. Most of the time, it's pretty small. But my original stuff is all copyright free, so you can do whatever you want. And some people jumped on that. And so there was one person that made a version of it where they took all the clues and they jammed them together into one 2-hour film. And usually you can tell if it's because it ends before the last clue, which is clue 12, which is realize. And this particular one was called Under the Dome Documentary, which is interesting because there's a current television show out there which was produced by Steven Spielberg and written by Stephen King called Under the Dome, and he kind of jumped on that, and yeah, it's got, I think as of now, I don't know, 700, 800,000 hits, and then another guy took the clues and produced them into a film called, I believe it's called They Are Hiding God. So he took my title of one of my clues and put it as the title of the whole thing, called it They Are Hiding God with the Greatest Lie Ever. And when he did that, that generated a lot of controversy because a lot of religious people jumped on that one. And that thing's like at 1.1 million hits, and the thumbs up and the thumbs down, it's a battle. Thumbs up is winning, but not by a lot. I think it's like 55-45, something like that. So that's what. So when somebody writes and says, "Oh yeah, just watched your your documentary, The Greatest Lie Ever," that's what he's talking about. So don't think that I'm holding out on you. And there's another thing on my channel. There's nothing on my channel that says They're Hiding God with the Greatest Lie Ever or Under the Dome Documentary. These are all just fan-based stuff. I don't even know if they're fans. They're just doing it for the money. I mean, you get 1 million hits, you get a little bit of change. So good for him. And because it gets the exposure out there. All right, next on is going to be from Baz. Baz writes, "Hey, Mark, I'm a big fan. I'm a close friend of Santos Bonacci and have been helping him with his YouTube channel. I wanted to share with you that 1 week before the Leonardo DiCaprio thing happened with the Pope, I was looking at those very same pieces by Hieronymus Bosch. Being an artist, I look at art all the time and had been making a careful study of Bosch when that incident happened. I had got a Bosch book for Christmas. I remember seeing his depiction of Earth and thinking about it. I even sent it to Santos. Then the Pope and Leonardo thing happened. Bosch is a very, very interesting study. There are other pieces by Bosch showing subterranean areas where sinners are tortured by demons. Don't know what to make of that, if that is a literal or represents something. Santos has mentioned the possibility of subterranean hellish regions in his flat earth presentation. Don't know if I subscribe to that, but I do believe punishment exists for evil ones. I personally believe we are on a flat plane surrounded by concentric rings. We come down from cause through the rings, experience and grow, and then we leave through the rings. Upon death, the soul must travel through the rings back to cause. The first ring being the moon. If we are not developed enough, when we die, we can't get past through the moon and bounce back to Earth. Manly P. Hall speaks about this, and Santos too. Fascinating stuff. Let me know if I can help with anything. Count me in, Baz. Thanks, Baz. That's great. Rick writes, Mark, not too sure if this email account is still active, but if so, my son and I would love to thank you for the interesting and eye-opening material you've uploaded onto YouTube. My son is 11 years old, and he's homeschooled. He has chosen to do a book report based on some of the information you uploaded, and he seems to be very interested in the subject. He's only 11, of course, but he's become very fond of your videos, and so have I. We wish you well, and we send greetings from El Paso, Texas. Sincerely, Rick Cortez. Thank you, Rick, and good luck to your 11-year-old son who's homeschooled. It's tough going, especially if he gets out there. There's going to be a lot of laughter, a lot of ridicule. But if you brace yourself and just understand that everybody starts out like this, it's going to be fine. Jay writes, huge fan here. What is your theory about the dinosaurs? Because I never believed a meteor exterminated on them. Well, I believe in dinosaurs. I don't believe in the dino hoax, mostly because in an enclosed system, and this applies to if it's an enclosed artificial system, you are going to have more civilizations than just ours. And who says they have to be civilizations? For that matter. So we all know about the underwater cities outside of India and the oceans, and the ones off Japan. We all know they're there. We don't know who lived in the cities, but we know they're probably before us, before the 5,000 years that we've been around. How old are the pyramids? But the point is, if you're a creator and you are actually letting other civilizations blossom, then who's to say you just don't do basic life forms as well? Let's say you're doing the 1.0 version or the 1.5 version of this place, where you put in, large, reptiles based on elevated heat levels. Who's to say that's not possible? And, the reptiles are going around and seems kind of interesting. And then you want to, add other things, but you know that the reptiles are way too big to add any humanoid civilizations, so you wipe out most of the reptiles, or you do whatever. You remove most of them from the surface of the planet, however you do that. And what also makes it interesting is, could you have possibly left some, so let's say there was a cataclysm that wiped most of them out. Could some of them have been left around? Anyone has any doubts? Look in. I know it sounds silly. Look into the Loch Ness Monster. Out at Loch Ness Lake. Is it a plesiosaur swimming around in there? Is it a family of plesiosaurs? That really is a strange situation, because if a plesiosaur ever gets found, if one actually crawls out of the lake and bites somebody, somebody snaps some pictures or a movie or whatever it is, science has a lot of questions to answer. Weren't those things supposed to have died out 100 million years ago? And 100 million years is a long time, so if they're still around, are they breeding? Because 100 million years, you could breed that lake to where you couldn't do anything. There'd be so many of them around, and they'd crawl around to other lakes. Who knows? But yeah, I believe in dinosaurs. I don't think they were fake. I think they were part of an older version of this place, and some of them were still hung around. So what I'm basically saying is, I think the dinosaurs. Here's how I resolve it. I think the dinosaurs are around, but I think the carbon dating system is completely full of crap. That whole thing about how there were these ages of dinosaurs 300 million years ago, 200 million years ago. Why? You don't need that much time if it's an artificial system. Remember what I said, if the enclosed system becomes real, everything has to be rewritten. Everything has to be redone. That's one of the reasons why you keep it a secret, is because academia gets turned upside down. Every textbook, every science textbook, I don't care what it is, if it's geology, hydrology, archaeology, biology, everything has to be redone. And a couple of them, astronomy and astrophysics, those go away permanently. So Neil deGrasse Tyson, hope you have a lecture circuit lined up, or maybe you're just going to move to another country and hide, because not much we can do for you. Unless you leave now, unless you get in front of it. This is one of your warnings. You'll have a few more before the big day. Jimmy writes, Mr. Sargent, I have researched Planet X or Nibiru for about 5 years, and the interesting thing is when I came to realize the Earth is not what it seems, which was about 2 weeks ago when I gave up and said the Earth is flat. Alex Jones, a couple days later, who was totally against the Planet X, came out and said NASA found the 9th planet that is on a 20,000-year elliptical orbit, according to the ancients. NASA has denied Planet X ever since I've been looking into it. I personally think that NASA has been getting their ass kicked, and they needed something to draw attention away from the flat Earth. Also, if the Earth was a ball and gravity was keeping everything in a sphere shape, the horizon would not keep rising to eye level. It would follow the curvature of the ball, supposedly like the oceans. Thanks for the good work. Let me know what you think. Jimmy Aker, and that's Akre. probably shouldn't have said his last name because it's a pretty unusual last name. Yeah, the whole ninth planet thing. Like, how can I put this? Planet X was something I got into years ago. Not that long ago. We all remember 2012, 2013. But I was totally into Planet X because it seemed like Planet X was very possible. The amount of information that NASA leaked or deliberately messed up pointed at Planet X or something coming this way. But it never materialized into anything. It was like everyone was kind of holding their breath. It was a movie plot that everyone was waiting for, and then nothing happened. The orbit supposedly came around. Oh, it's behind the sun. It should be here anytime. And then nothing. So in 2013, all that. 2014, nothing happened. 2015. Now what? 2016. Now it's coming back. I'm sorry, that plot line doesn't really play anymore. It doesn't go anywhere. So what I've said, I'm going to still stay with the same thing that I said months ago, which is if Planet X shows up now, if it rears its ugly head now, it's completely staged. It's part of something bigger, which is part of the enclosed world, part of the flat earth, and part of some sort of group taking claim for it. And you want to call it aliens or you want to call it the divine, somebody's going to have to take credit for this thing. And whoever does, I don't want to pick on the major religions, the five big ones that control 80% of this world's population, which is Buddhism, Hinduism, Judaism, Islam, and Christianity. You can back whatever horse you want, but you got to remember there's one, and I was raised Christian, but there's a sobering fact, and everyone's got to realize this, and that is first God that shows up wins. So, and by that I mean the masses are going to follow whoever shows up first. It's just simple as that. So be ready. Don't buy it. Whoever shows up first, whoever's listening to this, don't buy it. Because whoever shows up, if you have advanced technology and godlike presence, who's going to question you? The skeptic will. So don't take it at face value. Just saying. Chris writes, did you see the video Good Mythical Morning? They have 9 million subs on YouTube and just talked about flat earth. Not pro-flat earth, but nonetheless giving the masses the idea that people are talking about it. Anyway, thank you for what you do. More honest debates needed from you and a high-end Globe speaker. I think you could debate better than Eric Dubay any day. Thank you, Chris. A couple things there. First of all, yes, the Good Mythical Morning crew that has 9 million subs on one channel. I think their backup channel, which is called Good Mythical More, has like 3 million subs. They did cover it, and that's amazing. Just that they covered it is something, and that is because everyone is writing. Everybody does a show, every radio show. Everyone does a YouTube channel that has a decent number of subscribers. Everyone is writing all these people, and it's not just flat earthers; it's their own subscribers. Say, you got to cover this. You got to cover this. And if you've got a group, these guys are as mainstream as they get. 9 million subs. There's celebrities out there, main A-list celebrities that don't have 9 million subs. So if these guys are covering it, woof, that means that it's still a very big deal, and that just happened. So yeah, check it out if you get a chance. They were trying to be as neutral as possible because they realize the passion that is out there in the flat Earth community. So I will give them credit for that. They didn't jump on board, but I would have been more surprised had they jumped on board. Another minute or so to the break. So let's do this one, which is from Mike. Hey, Mark, something funny happened on the way home from work. Oh, do tell, Mike. I had texted an old friend, and it turns out it was an old number. And you're not going anywhere with this, Mike. But since I was planning on getting around to telling him about the flat Earth, I decided, why not just text the stranger the Earth is flat? At the same time, I was thinking about how you said you hated texting. And at that moment, something occurred to me, which is, what if everybody who was currently on board with the flat Earth texted their neighbor, almost like a prank text, but would be a little more acceptable because the number looks like their number with only the last digit being different, and you would not be saying something rude. I suppose each flat earther would have their own style and length of message, but nonetheless, in theory, it should be harmless. I'm aware that there should be some sort of blowback in the form of heated arguments, disagreements, etc. However, the level of awareness would easily double in the first wave. Not everybody goes on YouTube or the internet or cares, but one thing is for sure, there's a lot of cell phones out there. Text your neighbors, Mike. You know what? Mike's got Interesting point, and I had given this a little bit of thought. I initially had kind of downplayed the idea. I was going, it's not that great an idea, but that's not a bad idea at all. And that is either deliberately or not deliberately text your neighbors. Say the earth is flat. Ooh, welcome back to Strange World, where the truth is often stranger than fiction. I'm your host, Mark Sargent, and this is segment 4, and that was... I thought I forgot, didn't you? That was Joe Jackson stepping out from his album Night and Day. One of the first really, really cool MTV videos that I saw when MTV was brand new. Oh, you guys should have been there. It was really, really great. Okay, we're doing mailbag tonight. And so, where did we leave off? We left off with a letter from Mike, and now we're going to read one from a letter from John. John writes, "Hey, Mark, I just realized the why of hiding God. Hidden, there is still doubt, and doubt reduces belief, and lack of belief is a reduction of power. When people know the world is flat and created, they will know there is a creator, and doubt will be removed. So when praying for, say, deliverance from evil, boom, words and prayers have power now. Governments will lose all power. Because how will they control people who can ask simply for food, shelter, healing, protection, justice, and receive it without a doubt? The only ones not benefiting from this are the wicked, as it should be. Also, no more religions. Oh, don't be so sure of that. With self-appointed intermediaries between man and God asking for tithes and obedience for nothing in return but empty promises. It will all go back to ask and ye shall receive. Each person in their own is their own king and priest. But we know all this already because it's what was promised. It is just that now, with the realization of a flat created earth, it's no longer just a nice idea or a belief, but a divine certainty. On earth, as it is in heaven, will become a statement of fact and no longer a prayer. I wonder, though, is everybody ready for a time excuse me, when there is no longer an excuse for not being 100% diligent with walking the straight path? I don't know if I truly am. I mean, I can think of a few who may pray for me to be put out of their misery. It's pretty much what you and others have already said about why hide it. But I thought I would add a little small print to the point. Warning, you may be the evil the world needs delivering from. Sobering thought, John. Yeah, depending on how it's released, there's a lot of interesting things that might happen. But one of the big things is, if you want to keep this hidden as far as the government standpoint, and that is it's tough to be the ultimate power if you're not the ultimate power. Meaning, you can say all you want. You can say, oh, we've got the biggest military in the world and the biggest police force, and we can do all these things to you. But if they're saying that while above them is a massive structure that we're all living inside, at that point, a lot of people, their authority will be diminished. People will be saying, well, yeah, I mean, you've got some muscle down here, but you can't, hold a candle to the big guy upstairs or big woman, or it doesn't have to be big. You know what I'm saying? The divine. So thank you, John. Jim writes, Mark, I was able to confirm this test myself. It was weird as my heart was racing as back and forth between moon shadow and light. The temperature change was always 3.5 to 4 degrees cooler in the moonlight. Astounding, Jim. He's talking about the moonlight test, which I've been encouraging people to get. I'm holding in my hand right now. I know you can't see it, which is an infrared point-and-click thermometer that you can use for everything from engine blocks to asphalt to whatever it is. You can point it at your skin, and you can check the temperature of your skin. And what you can use this for, and Rob Skiba did a wonderful example, is you can go out into the moonlight. It's better if you have a half moon or better. Hopefully it's high in the sky, not low on the horizon. And you point it at an object that's in the moonlight, and you point it at another object that's in the moon shade. Now, we all know that, remember, it's 100 degrees in the sun. It's probably 80 degrees in the shade, roughly. It depends where you are. But if it's in the moonlight, it's the exact opposite. And that is if it's 50 degrees, and we're talking Fahrenheit, not Celsius. If it's 50 degrees in the moonlight, then it's 60 degrees in the moon shade. We can get up to 12, 13 degree swings. And that shouldn't be possible if the moon is reflecting some of the sun's rays because the sun is hot. We know this. So unless the moon is transmuting the radiation into a refrigerating, and I've still got to make the video called "Flat Earth and the Freon Moon." If it's refrigerating it, then where the heck is that coming from? It means it's self-illuminated, is what we're saying. We can do this now with our technology. It's called a cool laser. We can use laser beams to cool objects. It's very expensive, and you're not going to ever see it in your local refrigerator, but it's very, very interesting, because if the moon is self-illuminated, then what have you been telling us all this time? So go out, test it yourself. I did it myself. I got about a 3-4 degree change because the moon was low on the horizon. If it was high above, like when Rob Skiba's test was there, you probably see a bigger swing. If you find a full moon, great, test it out. These things are dirt cheap, too. You can buy these on Amazon for like $15 shipped. And they come from China, and they're really, really cool. So check them out when you get a chance. Jorge from Brazil writes, "Hey, Mark, congrats. I really loved your attitude at the debate with the scientist. You spoke with a lot of energy and appropriacy." I do not use that word much. "And you didn't need a lot of people in the room to back you up. Keep up with the battle. All the best to you, man." Jorge from Brazil. Thank you, Jorge. And you're right. The debate on Dark 30 Radio was not what I expected. I was hoping it was just going to be a 2-on-2 discussion with Richard Hoagland and Mark D'Antonio and David Weiss and myself, and it turned into a one-on-one tag team wrestling match, and we fought science, and the Flat Earth won easily. And Richard Hoagland backed out of the debate entirely, didn't even call in, because why could he? He's done. He's finished. And he in fact, I feel bad. I shouldn't. I'm not picking on the man personally, but what I'm saying is that it's one of the, I've said that Flat Earth only conflicts with a few other conspiracies out there, and Richard Hoagland is one of them, because he talks about bases on the moon and bases on Mars and lots of people living in all these places, which just is not the case, because in Flat Earth, the planets are not even real objects you can land on. There might be some worlds outside of here, but they're not the things we see up in the sky. So anyway, thank you, Jorge from Brazil. Ted writes, "Mark, have you happened to look up at the actual dates and the phases of the moon when the moon landings were to have taken place? I did that with the moon phase application I had, and according to what I have seen from the V locations on the moon, almost all the lunar landings happened in total darkness or semi-darkness. Something you might want to check out. Ted," and he signs Proverbs chapter 3, verses 5 through 8, but he doesn't say what they are. So look it up. Yeah, it's very interesting, and that is also could have been something they missed, for the same reason why they never showed stars on the moon's surface, because the constellations would have been screwed up all the time, and they didn't have the computers to make the correct calculations for that. They could have done the same thing with the moon phase itself, which is, were they sometimes in darkness or semi-darkness, but they just kind of played it off like they were always in daylight, which was ridiculous. Again, anyone who believes that we went to the moon, there are so many documentaries out there that rip the whole thing apart. It's not even a question. You can't even look at a moon picture now, especially with anyone with a high-def monitor, which is so much different than the television screens that they advertised. They showed stuff on the 60s. You don't understand how bad the resolution was back then. They could get away with it. You throw these same photographs up on any decent monitor, just zoom in, and it's ridiculous how horrible it is. The construction of the lander, the paper mache and the foil. The big thing for me, and I don't want to get off on a rant here because we're coming off in the last section of the show. The big thing for me was the moon crater. The blast crater from the module. That thing supposedly had 10,000 pounds of thrust, and when you look underneath it, there isn't even a burn mark. There isn't even a pattern of ground where the blast, I don't care if you used air, there would have been a patch of ground that at least had a dispersal pattern and plus when they landed, when they walked around, it looked like they were walking on volcanic ash. The cloud of dust they would have generated with 1/6 gravity would have been immense, and it would have taken a while for that dust to settle down. Even without atmosphere, it would have taken a little while. There was nothing there, not to mention the shadows converging, and it was just, there's so many bad things. So I don't want to get into it. Just look it up yourself if you get a chance. So the moon is just horrible. And I know if you're in the United States, it's really, really hard because we take a lot of national pride, especially since for no apparent reason, no other country decided to go to the moon. But in the United States, you got to give it up. I know, I like it as much as anybody for national pride, but it was for a bigger purpose. It wasn't for national pride. It was to show people that you went to the moon, there's boring, there's nothing there, you don't have to go there ever again. And that worked for a long time, but now we've got a lot of people that are very interested. So thank you, Ted. David writes, hey, Mark, saw your Paul Sandu interview recently. Very good. Are you on Facebook or Twitter yet? Best wishes, David. Yes and no. I personally, Mark Sargent, am not on Facebook or Twitter. I really didn't think I was going to become popular or famous or infamous or whatever you want to call it, so I didn't bother getting a Facebook account or a Twitter account. I'm still not going to unless this thing actually goes mainstream or it becomes a lot more popular. I mean, yeah, I have some subscribers now, which is really, really great. But I still don't monetize the channel, and I'm still trying to keep myself as low key as possible. Yes, I know that I've got a book out there, but I didn't remember. It wasn't solicited. I wasn't shopping this thing around to publishers. This one group from London called me. I was like, super, super great that they did that. And the radio station thing that's going to happen, the subscription radio service, glad that's going to happen too. They're not asking me to recant anything. In fact, it's going to be called the Flat Earth Network. So really, really great. Oh yeah, back to your question. There is a Facebook thing with part of my stuff on it, and that's the book. So you can look up Flat Earth Clues on Facebook. And that's there, although I am not responding to anything on there. That is controlled by the publisher. It was created by the publisher, Boogles, out of London. So if you want to get a hold of me, the best way is to not text me. It is to email me. Email me at msargent23@comcast.net or call me on my phone. I will screen most of the calls, though, just so you know, because the phone does not stop ringing, which is 303-494-6631. Yes, that's a Colorado number, but currently I'm up in Seattle. Oh, yeah. One more thing. If you're going to send me a package, I know I mentioned this at the beginning, but I got to keep doing this because one of my videos I said send cookies to, and I put the Colorado address. Don't send anything to the Colorado address anymore. Email me. I'll give you my address up here in Whidbey Island. You can send whatever you want. So I know I'm being repetitive. I'm repeating myself. I'm saying the same thing over and over. I'm being redundant. Jay writes, hey, Mark, Jay Brock here. I don't want to take too much of your time. Just wanted to chat. I'm an American living in Puerto Rico. My friend Kevin and I started looking into Flat Earth about the same time, maybe 6 to 8 months ago. A life-changing event. I thought that people were tired of 9/11 and Sandy Hook and needed a new conspiracy. I was shocked with what I've learned, empowered at the same time. Thank you for imparting knowledge on the rest of us who have eyes to see. Kevin told me that he has emailed you with a few times and you always respond. I was finding some interesting things of my own last year that was even more convincing to me than hearing other people talk about proofs. I emailed Jaron a few times about what I had found. I actually connected some dots myself. Seeming as though Russia and the United States false flagged together to implement public GPS. I can give you more details on that if you like. Very interesting stuff, but I'm sure new Flat Earth material or different aspects to the show people might be increasingly difficult to come up with. I have a 3-year-old daughter. She watches Disney Junior. Are you at all familiar with a Disney show called Miles from Tomorrowland? It's an animated child's version of Star Trek. Same storylines, various alien races, members of the Tomorrowland Transit Authority. The kid's family is cruising through space, visiting all the planets. Everything they say reinforces the idea of space. Their catchphrases are like craters or galactic, blastastic. Some Star Trek and Star Wars actors are voices on the show. George Takei, Will Wheaton, Mark Hamill. Just an idea to cover the ongoing very young indoctrination. I hear my daughter repeat things from the show like solar system or talking about planets and space travel. Puts me in an odd predicament as a parent. Been wondering how to handle it. Anyway, thanks for your time and take care. If you want the false flag story, let me know. I'll probably be in touch from time to time. Jay, the indoctrination starts out at a very young age, and they don't have to do much. Remember, the television shows, that's just part of it. The big thing is the globe in the classroom. Because it's the television show, they watch it for a while, but then another show comes on and they don't have to deal with it. But the globe sits in the classroom, this silent reminder for their entire school day. Doesn't matter what class they go to, if they rotate around, and it stays there throughout their entire high school. If you're in the United States, that's 12 years. 12 years of staring at that icon. What do you think that does to you? And I quote the George Orwell article from 1946, where he says that if you ask people how they know when it's a globe, they all respond the same way. Everyone knows. Duh. And then if you press it further, they get angry. What was interesting about that was when George Orwell wrote that, he wrote that in 1946. That's 12 years before NASA was even formed. They didn't have jet planes. People are still flying propeller planes around. So how did they know it was a globe? They knew it was a globe because science told them. Ever since they were a child, science told them it was a globe. And they just took their word for it, because why would science lie to you? Why would science lie to you? They never make mistakes. They would never lie deliberately. Unless, and I want to put this thought in your mind before we go on with the emails, science would lie to you if they found out something that wasn't beneficial to science. If it contradicts science in any way, whatever that thing is, they will hide it, they will kill it, they will bury it. They will never let the public see that. If you think you're kidding, I'm kidding. I'm going to use this. If I ever start doing lecture circuits, I'm going to use this analogy. And feel free to chime in on this. If you want to sum up science in one sentence, it's this. And this is for movie people. Raiders of the Lost Ark. 1981 movie. We all know how the movie went, which is they were fighting, people died. Everyone was like, get the Ark, get the Ark. Who's going to get the Ark? The Nazis are going to get the Ark. The British are going to get the Ark. Indiana. And finally, who ends up with it at the end? The Americans do. And the very last 30 seconds of that movie, which is the most important part of that movie, is what do they do with the Ark? They put it in a crate, and they put it in a warehouse, and they put it in Area 51, and they never let anyone see it, and they never talk about it, and that story never comes out. Indiana found nothing. He was probably told to sign disclosure agreements on top of that and said, you never get to talk about this thing. Why? Because the Ark of the Covenant gives religion a magical artifact that they can do something with, and science can't explain it. And the Ark of the Covenant raises too many questions that science can't answer. And if science can't answer these questions, then they don't want that thing that raised those questions around. That applies to everything that's out there. And by that, I mean, because all the religions out there, all the religions really want is a magical artifact. They want a wand, a staff, a gem, a ring, an Ark of the Covenant, a holy grail. All of these things you are never going to see because science will not let you see them. Even if they existed, which some of them probably do, which is why the flat earth is so damaging to them, because it is a giant artifact to them, a giant spiritual, powerful artifact that they can't explain. There's nothing they can do. If it comes out, if we are in a structure, if we are in a Truman Show, then all of a sudden we have a creator. If we have a creator, we have God. What happens to the Big Bang Theory? What happens to evolution? What happens to all the things that science has been writing for the last 500 years? It all comes crumbling down. So make no mistake, science will lie to you. They absolutely will lie to you. Think I'm kidding. Remember that scientists, and you can look at this, some of the past episodes, commercials are out there. Scientists in labs were the ones that told the companies that they could advertise cigarettes on television with doctors endorsing them, even though they knew full well that cigarettes would kill you. Cigarettes were sold in children's cartoon shows as late as 1961. I put that in my last thing, which is the Fred Flintstone picking up a pack of Winstons at the shop. Who's that ad for? It's not for the adults. Oh, yeah, the adults think Fred Flintstone is cool, but the kids are going to watch that too. You think they're going to miss the Winston connection? No, of course not. Anyway, sorry. I hate to be so sobering with only 10 minutes left in the show. Let's finish up the emails, shall we? Curtis writes, what does Curtis write? After listening to your flat earth theory for a while, I believe it, especially when you said that when the second coming is here, how would we all see it on a round planet? Thank you. Excellent point. So people say, well, it's because of cell phones. It's like, no. No, if you're on a round planet, you've got a three-dimensional problem there, and that is if there is a second coming of God, and God shows up, how does everybody on a round planet see God at the same time? It works on a flat plane, doesn't work on a round planet, because you have to assume that some people don't have access to technology. You can't say that, oh, because they have cell phones, they're going to broadcast it around. You know, that wasn't in the Bible that God would be broadcasting the second coming on HD and over smartphones. Did not say that anywhere. Just to let you know. Next one is by Kyle. Kyle writes, my dad is a pilot and owns a single-engine aircraft, Piper PA-12. I told him about the flat Earth last summer, and he was shocked, but very interested. I asked him if he ever had to nose down to avoid gaining altitude, and this has been a hard one for him to disprove because he uses no autopilots or computers, just an artificial horizon and an altimeter. We fly quite a bit around here, which is Alaska. He has flown over Lake Ilama, which is 77 miles long. I asked him if he has to nose down when flying over the lake because he should have encountered almost 3,600 feet of curvature, and he understands water is flat and does not curve. Since he has a float plane, he does not fly very high off the ground, a few hundred feet. He said there is no nosing down, and there is no magical gravitational pull that keeps the plane flying at an arc, magically correcting for the curve, but failing to correct for rises in elevations like a mountain or drops in elevations like a drop-off. One time we were flying over land that is about 100 feet above sea level. When we flew over the land and were now above the ocean, the plane did not correct for the 100-foot drop in elevation. We suddenly gained 100 feet of altitude as the ground was now lower. There is no magical correction by gravity like people say. There is no constant minor corrections by the pilot to account for the curve, just like if we were flying at 500 feet and encountered a 700-foot mountain, the plane does not correct magically. Keep up the good work, Kyle. Thank you, Kyle. That's excellent. Excuse me. Starting to lose my voice a little bit. Probably because I'm getting emotional. Hey, Mark. I'm Lahos Bognar from Vancouver, Canada. I've listened to a few of your radio shows on YouTube, and I decided to learn more about the flat Earth. I decided to bring one thing to your attention, that is ham radio. I'm originally from Europe, go figure, with that name. Hungary, where I was a radio amateur for 15 years before I came to Canada. Besides many things, I've learned two things while I was in radio amateur. One, the so-called world maps that are sold nowadays are inaccurate and useless for radio amateur purposes, and probably any purpose. Radio amateurs have their own world maps that were made by radio amateurs, and the map is identical to the flat Earth map. Radio amateurs call these maps azimuthal maps. Shortwave radio waves travel enormous distances. It is possible to establish contacts between any continents, and we use directional antennas to direct the radio waves when we transmit or receive signals. The continents are in the correct place on the flat Earth azimuthal map. We know that because we receive the strongest signal from radio stations when we direct our antennas to a certain continent according to the flat Earth map. But when we direct our antennas to a continent using our world map, we don't receive maximum strength signal or don't receive signal at all. My conclusion is that something's seriously wrong with the world maps. My second experience actually doesn't support the flat Earth, but I think I will tell you about it. It is possible to establish contact using the shortest distance between two continents, as the flat Earth map shows, short path, or send the signal exactly in the opposite direction around the Earth and hit the continent from behind, from the other direction, which is the long path. Here's an example. If I'm in Europe, I can direct my antenna to North America across the Atlantic Ocean, as shown on the flat Earth map, short path, or to the opposite direction to the Indian Ocean. That causes the signal to travel across the Indian Ocean and across the South Pole and across the Pacific Ocean, and the signal will arrive at the west coast of North America, long path. Now, this long path communication tells me that the Earth is a globe. If the Earth is a globe, the shortwave radio signal travels around the globe. This long path radio communication would not be possible if the Earth was flat, but it happens daily and is commonly known by radio amateurs. This is my experience. I suggest to you to interview a knowledgeable, experienced radio amateur on your radio show, or radio communications expert could add a piece of truth to this complex flat Earth puzzle. Don't hesitate to email me if you have any questions. Best regards, Lahos Bognar. Yeah, you might be right. You might be able to go the other direction. Does that mean, though, that you're going through the South Pole and getting a connection on the other side, or is it reflecting off of something else? We don't know. Does that prove a globe? No. No, not by a long shot. There's too many things. Most notably from above. You got to remember, and this is a big one, if this Earth was even close to a globe, NASA would have taken a whole bunch of pictures, even if it was close, and then doctored them and did a whole. It's so hard to look at this from without bringing in NASA, unfortunately. But anyway, Lajos, thank you very much for your email. I will forward this on to some people, see what they do. Dale writes, "Hey Mark, love your stuff. Can't talk in detail at the moment, but I'd love to one day. I was an avionics tech in a past life, and guess what? None of the cockpit instruments that I ever worked on were ever calibrated for curvature. I totally agree with the valve guy, etc. And we even had a machine shop, as any isolated operation using mechanical instrumentation requires." Dale. Oh, we got no time left. Unfortunately, we got like a minute left, and I can't even read these last couple. I've got like 2 or 3 left. By the way, I'd like to do a quick shout out to Frode Loken from Norway. He wrote a great flat earth heavy metal song called Jeranism, Nuke the Sky. Really, really great. Thank you, Frode Loken. Also, because we got a little extra time at the end here, I'd like to thank again Brother Dave K out of Ohio for the 10 Commandments mug and the oil candle, flatlikeme.com for the t-shirt and the cool website, Nicole Cote for the banner that she's doing for the new radio show, Boogles for the audio book, Brian Klein out of Humana Story for my very, very cool channel trailer, which is kind of like a Game of Thrones type thing. Really cool. And, of course, Keenan Stinson for his video, "The Jig is Up, the Earth is Flat." So until then, guys, hey, keep it flat or stay flat, whatever.